want you to take a look at this picture behind me. What do you see? I see a little girl with brown hair and bright eyes. Now, what do you think that she dreams of becoming? Maybe astronaut, teacher, doctor. The possibilities seem endless, don't they? Well, if you haven't guessed it yet, that little girl is me. And when I was 7 years old, my gymnastics coach asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I remember looking her dead in the eyes and proudly saying, "I want to be perfect." I remember she smiled and told me I had the talent and determination to achieve my dream. And for the longest time, I believed her. Growing up, I was an elite competitive gymnast for USAG Gymnastics, which is the national governing body for gymnastics at the Olympic, elite, and competitive levels. Big names like Carrie Strug and Simone Biles have trained under this company, as it houses some of the best athletes in the world, and that used to include me. From the ages of 7 to 15, I dedicated my entire life to gymnastics, only to see it crumble right before my very eyes. However, through that experience, I learned that life's experiences create series of waves. Some are gentle and help push us where we need to go, while others can feel overwhelming and knock us off course. But it's about learning to ride these waves and find comfort in storms that truly defines us. My name is Scarlett Gutierrez, and today I'm going to take you on a journey through the ocean of my life. I started gymnastics when I was 7, participating in basic and fun after-school classes, but that never felt like enough. So when I was 8, I joined USAG Gymnastics. And after just 1 year in the program, I found myself at the top of a gigantic wave, having won the all-around state championship for my age division. This victory marked a turning point, not just for me, but also for my coaches, who saw something extraordinary in me. In USAG Gymnastics, most athletes follow a steady path, starting at level 3 and progressing year by year until they reach level 10. But my journey was anything but typical. In just one summer, I skyrocketed from level 3 to level 7, a leap that was almost unheard of. But my coaches were convinced I was different. They told my parents I was the most promising athlete to come through the gym, that the other girls my age simply weren't training at my level. They even brought in an Olympic judge to watch me, and after observing me in practice, she made a bold declaration that if I wanted it, I had a real shot at the Olympics. The summer of 2nd grade, I pushed forward without hesitation as my hours in the gym became over 35 hours a week. And it was really intense to say the least. But gymnastics meant everything to me. It was my anchor in the storm. It was the one thing that made me feel like I was perfect. I was deserving. So I tackled every challenging workout, practice, and new skill with a smile, convinced that nothing would shake me. A typical day in my life involved waking up at dawn, where I'd head to the gym and train privately with my head coach before the gym even opened to others. Afterwards, I'd rush to school, but I only took the required classes. I was excused from all electives and even social studies to maximize my training time. I'd then rush back to the gym after leaving school early and spend hours there, perfecting my routines until every move was perfect. And late at night, I'd return home, sore and exhausted, only to wake up the next day and do it all over again. At just 8 years old, I wasn't a kid. I was a full-time elite athlete. Now, socially, gymnastics was a really isolating experience. At school, I couldn't focus on friendships because my mind was consumed by perfecting my routines and staying ahead. And in the gym, I only saw my fellow teammates as nothing more than competition. Even my childhood nickname, Peep, was a bittersweet reminder of how little time I had with my mom. She gave me the nickname during rare moments we'd spend together when baby geese would waddle in front of her car on the way to practice, forcing us to stop, giving us a few extra minutes to talk. Those stolen seconds and fleeting pauses in my restless schedule felt like the only real time I had with my mom. I didn't even have a chair at my dining room table, because I was never there long enough to need one. And when I didn't show up for events, my little brother stopped asking my parents where I was, because he knew I was at the gym. But I didn't just want to be the best. I needed to be perfect. So for Christmas when I was 10, I got a balance beam that I put right in the middle of my family's living room. So after a grueling training session, I'd come home and practice even more. and weekends for me weren't for fun, but for extra training that I would do on my own time. I was restless. I was practically a machine. Now, when I reached middle school, it was time for me to chase what I thought my destiny was, the Olympics. My time in the gym easily became over 45 hours a week, and soon I was traveling to Texas to train alongside Olympic athletes and their world-class coaches. I competed across the United States, riding the highest wave of victory, convinced that nothing could shake me. However, gymnastics is one of the most terrifying sports in the world. By nature, you're defying gravity, pushing past limits, and risking everything with each move. Unlike other sports, you don't really have a team. There's no one to cover for your mistakes. Gymnastics is a brutal sport where perfection isn't just a goal, it's an expectation, as everything revolves around getting that perfect 10. Naturally, as I got older, my skills became more difficult with additional flips and twists. My time in the gym continued growing, and injuries became my daily norm. My competition scores that once soared into the high 9s never went above a low 8 because I was so stressed out under the constant pressure I was put for Olympic glory. I felt like I was never good enough when I wasn't winning, when I wasn't being perfect, and my fears of never being good enough seeped into every part of my life. At school, I constantly broke down under the pressure in places where no one would see. I lost my appetite as it was replaced by anxiety, and sleep was a luxury that I wasn't afforded because my mind never stopped echoing the expectations I couldn't quite meet. And when I wasn't winning, when I wasn't being perfect, I was subjected to abuse from the very people I'd once called my second family. The coaches, the people that I trusted to protect me, who were my constant source of validation, became the ones who tore me down. They were cruel. When I wasn't being perfect, I was subjected to their intense gazes. They made me see myself as not even a person. I felt like a number and a performance in a game where perfection was the only currency. Every time I looked in the mirror, I only saw a girl who would never be enough. I was addicted to my coach's praise, and I was bound to the scores on the judges' sheets. That when I didn't have it, I convinced myself I was nothing. And in that darkness, self-harm became my escape. The one way I knew how to silence the crushing weight of not being perfect, as I convinced myself that maybe pain was the price I had to pay for every mistake I made. And for years, I carried that burden with me like a scar, unable to shake it. When I should have been the captain of my own life, steering myself through life's ocean, perfection took hold of my wheel, and I lost all control. I wasn't sailing anymore. I was completely drowning. Standing before you today, far removed from that chapter in my life, I now see a truth, that gymnastics was never my dream, nor my destiny. I didn't even love the sport itself. What I actually loved was the perfection and the praise that came with it. I sacrificed my youth, my family, and even my happiness for medals that now sit untouched in the back of my closet, all because I was afraid to not be exceptional. And that's what I've learned about perfection. It's not about achievement. It's actually about fear. Perfectionism is like a shadow behind you at all times that whispers, if you don't fail, you'll be safe. If you don't fail, they will love you. It's a defense mechanism and not a superpower. And when fear is in charge, it doesn't keep you from sinking. It actually keeps you from sailing. It traps you in the harbor, safe but stagnant, never allowing you to ride the waves and discover new shores. For years, fear held me captive, as gymnastics programmed me to believe that mistakes were the worst thing in the world, and that I had to be perfect constantly, no matter what it cost me. But that mindset was suffocating. I was tired of never feeling like I was enough. I was exhausted of never reaching an impossible expectation. So when I was 15, I did the one thing that fear told me I couldn't. I left. I quit USAG gymnastics for good. I let go of the life that was drowning me. And it was the hardest, yet also most empowering decision I'd ever made in my life. In this ocean of life, we are not stuck in the waves that pull us under. We have the ability to take control of our wheel and captain our ships back to shore, despite how rough the waves. So what I once saw as my greatest burden has now become my greatest miracle, as I realized that I lost myself entirely for the pursuit of praise and perfection. And I'm proud to say that in my early adult years, I finally found myself. Most people in my life today don't even know I was a competitive athlete, and that feels incredible, because for the first time, I'm not defined by what I did, I'm defined by who I am. I chase growth. I strive to be thoughtful and intentional, and better than I was yesterday. And I have learned to embrace my flaws and imperfections as essential parts of my journey, and not complete stepbacks that deserve to be punished. So, I challenge you. I want you to see yourself through a lens that doesn't demand perfection. Give yourself grace, just like I had to learn to give my younger self, to embrace who you are, mistakes, flaws, and all. Take control of your journey and let the waves of life carry you to new and exciting shores, never forgetting that you are worthy, you are enough, and you are capable of extraordinary things. Not because you're perfect, but because you don't have to be. Thank you.